Do Jedi or Force users in general always build their own lightsaber? So that's an excellent question, and generally the answer is yes. Many Jedi end up building their own lightsaber, at least eventually. It's seen as a sort of rite of passage, and it's a way for a Jedi to kind of reflect their own personality, right? But there are several notable exceptions to this. There are times when a Jedi wields a lightsaber that's not built by them, and there really are several reasons why this can happen. And so we'll get into that a little bit later in the video. But first of all, let's take a step back and let's talk about Star Wars A New Hope. So in Star Wars A New Hope, we see Luke Skywalker wielding Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber. So Luke basically gets this kind of hand-me-down heirloom lightsaber, and he trains with it, practices with it a little bit in A New Hope, and then he ends up dueling Darth Vader with the lightsaber in The Empire Strikes Back. And, he uses it for other purposes like gutting the AT-AT and other stuff. But anyway, this is his lightsaber, for A New Hope and also for Empire Strikes Back. Unfortunately, he loses the lightsaber in Empire Strikes Back during the duel with Darth Vader, and that kind of necessitates his building, his own personal lightsaber, the Luke Skywalker lightsaber that we see in Return of the Jedi. It's that green-bladed lightsaber. It has a little bit more of an Obi-Wan Kenobi look to it, kind of in its design, and that's something that we commonly see too, right? So building the lightsaber is often the rite of passage, for an apprentice to become kind of a full-fledged Jedi. And sometimes their design will be influenced at least a little bit by the design of their master's lightsaber. And we definitely see that with the Luke Skywalker lightsaber. There are some similar features, and the overall design is much more similar to the Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber than it really is to the Anakin Skywalker lightsaber, which is an interesting choice, for the filmmakers there. But so that's a common thing that we see. Now, we see other characters, end up in a similar situation where they use a lightsaber initially that's not theirs, and ultimately they end up building their own. But, if we go back to the prequels, the Star Wars prequels, and we see kind of the Jedi in their prime, it's much more standardized. So it is part of kind of the rite of passage of the Jedi to construct their own lightsaber. So that's kind of a given. Although in Star Wars canon, we do have some characters that use sort of a standard issue lightsaber. So they all use the same type of lightsaber. And those characters are the Jedi Temple Guards from the Clone Wars era. So the Jedi Temple Guards are the guards of the Jedi Temple, and they all wield yellow-bladed lightsabers, and all of the hilt designs are the same lightsaber. And these characters are masked, so we don't know their identities, and also the fact that they use the same hilt design shows that they're part of this larger group and they represent something larger than themselves. And, that they're more of kind of a symbol of this group of guardians rather than individuals with their own kind of personalities. So that's really one of the primary instances in Star Wars canon of a group using sort of the same type of lightsaber. Now, we see some more acute instances where a Jedi will use a different lightsaber. A prime example of that is in Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. So in that movie, both Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi end up, not having their lightsabers anymore. And so some of the Jedi, give them these sort of temporary loner lightsabers to use. And so, in that case, we see both of those characters using lightsabers that are not otherwise their own. So you do get cases like that, or, somebody just ends up using a different character's lightsaber because, during battle they needed to. That happens. I mean, even in Star Wars The Last Jedi, Rey briefly uses Kylo Ren's lightsaber. It's not for very long. So, sometimes in the heat of battle, things like that will occur as well. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. It's really interesting, this whole concept of a standard issue lightsaber versus a lightsaber kind of constructed by the lightsaber's wielder. Those are very different concepts. And it's just kind of neat to see the rationale behind either of those things. And then certainly we have these kind of random acute moments when somebody may need sort of a loner lightsaber to borrow during battle. So what do you think about this, you guys? What do you think about kind of the rite of passage, the ritual, and just the personalization of a Jedi's lightsaber? And how would you compare that to the concept of a standard issue lightsaber? So a lightsaber that's a little bit more generic, a little more uniform among its users. Feel free to comment below.